Good morning, everybody. You sexy, beautiful people. You got to be up, got to be ready, you got to take on the day. It's Friday. You made it to another weekend. I know it's felt like 2 whole days. Oh, how are you going to handle this? Oh, it's so hard. Next week, we're going to do another 4-day week, and then it's over. Then I'm afraid you're going to get used to those 5-day weeks again. He says, actually, secretly, I'm quite thrilled that people have to get used to 5-day weeks again. I feel like we've all been on a bit of a go slow, not just for these holidays, but for the last 2 years. So, time to pick it up, time to get moving. I can tell that fire is burning back in me. Wake up in the mornings, and if you're and we all go through this, you're in a bit of a funk, you're not in a huge hurry to get going again, You kind of find every excuse to take a little bit longer to, I need another week to decide. Let's put this meeting off to next week. You get into that. Everybody does. I'm sick of that now. I'm ready. I'm ready for a full resumption of hostilities. And maybe it's just because I've had enough of the kind of malaise that's been settled over all of us for 2.5 years. It could also be that it feels like things are changing, hey? It feels like stuff is going on. It feels like if you don't get on the train now, you're going to be left behind. So I don't think I'm alone. If you're feeling the same way, let me know about it. I see lots of people in the messages this morning. Viasin, Ngelo, Venetia, Cheryl, Tabo, Shani, they're all busy up and at 'em. Probably a lot of people are on holiday today. So, if you're not, I understand. It did make sense to take a couple of days and get away. So if that's what you're doing, awesome stuff. So I didn't mention this, but this Johnny Depp trial, and we're waiting for Leigh-Ann, she'll be with us in a moment. This Johnny Depp trial I didn't realize how entertaining this thing was. Do you know Amber Heard? I didn't pay attention because I don't watch TV. Oh, here's Leigh-Ann. Let me just get her in here. She needs to hear this. You all need to hear this. This is fantastic. Hey, Ass, what's up?
Hola.
Hola. I was just saying, no, I feel...
Bonjo.
I feel like I haven't really been paying attention to the Johnny Depp Amber Heard circus, but man, I think we have missed out.
Yeah. Okay.
Did you hear what? So she shat in his bed, apparently.
I'm sorry.
Yeah. You see? Yeah.
I thought you would enter gently.
No, she didn't. I mean, so how does a relationship? I've never been in a relationship that went so badly so quickly that you ended up.
Okay, so I have.
You please don't tell me this is something you can relate to, please.
Completely.
No.
Completely
bullshit.
and utterly.
No ways. Come on.
No, 100%, Gareth.
Mm-mm.
This is 100% something that I can relate to.
No, Leigh-Ann, not shitting in the bed. Mm-mm.
Worse.
Okay, go on. Now we got to hear it. I mean, you started this.
Well, I'm not going to bear all. I mean, we need to. You thrust me into the deep end. So
whatever you're comfortable with. While you think about whether you want to say what your story is, let me just tell you what happened. So,
go on.
Amber Turd, as Greg calls her, apparently. So Johnny's busy telling in court how he reckons that the turd that he found in the bed was too big to be from one of the dogs because they've got Yorkshire Terriers. So this is how he knew it was her. And
the Yorkshire Terriers is like, it's smaller than a knick-knack.
Chipolata. It's little, it's little. Yeah. So he says, Your Honor, I think she dropped a grumpy in my bed. That's why he calls it a grumpy. So that was hilarious. And he talks about feces, and Gary's right. He was talking like he was an expert on feces. Well, it was kind of long in the middle, and then it was pinched on the ends.
But he's so articulate.
Yeah, no, he's good.
I mean, I know he's an actor,
sure,
but he's also articulate.
Well, this is why I'm saying I feel like I missed out on this. I wish I watched this thing more carefully. I might have to go back and, Anyway,
It'll always be there. It exists forever. It's
I
there.
know. Thank you, internet. So he goes, well, it was too big to be. We've got 2 Yorkies. They're very small dogs. This was quite substantial. Your Honor, her asshole must be at least that big when produced. So he goes into such detail about this shit, but he won't call it a shit because, you know, if you say the word, you can imagine his lawyer saying to him, now, Johnny, for God's sake, the only thing we don't want you to do is get up there and say the word shit because that's going to really ruin your case. You got to be smart about this, Johnny. We need you to say something else.
Turd. Just say turd.
Oh, I can't say turd. I'll say she dropped a grumpy. That's what he called it, a grumpy. Now, I've never heard that before in my life. That is so...
You know why he's called it that?
No.
Because she's done it before. And she went, oh, no, I made a grumpy.
No.
Yes.
Okay, well.
Think about it.
I am blown away by how exciting this is. And then he's busy reading text messages. And he talks about, oh, God, it's so good. He explains how she is like the woman he donated his semen to for a time. That's how he describes her. I'm like, you have to hate somebody. There is not a single girlfriend I've had that I would describe as someone I donated my semen to for a time. That is about as clinical as it gets. He is pissed off with her. Look, I mean, justifiably, and then there's this whole thing which he closed off with. You know, he pinched the turd at the end of his testimony by saying he plays
the knick-knack.
Right, he plays a recording of her going, you go ahead, you tell them, Johnny. No one's going to believe a man, and you're hardly a man. Who's going to believe a man if he says he's been abused by a woman? You little pussy. What are you? And the judge says, what are you? And he looks at the judge and he goes, I am a man. And I thought, wow, he's worked this out. He's figured out the ways this can go. Nailed it. I don't care what happens. I've been entertained. This is yesterday. I didn't discover any of this before yesterday. I want to apologize to the audience. I'm sorry, guys.
Welcome.
I wasn't doing my job as an entertainer to keep on top of these important things. And this is what I needed to share with you.
I've been both on the serving. I've been serving this shit before in my life. And I've been receiving this as well in my life before.
Wow. All right, go ahead. Tell us what happened. How do you want to explain this? Just explain what someone took a shit in your bed, or you took a shit in somee's bed, or it's something similar?
It had got to the point where you must understand that these are 2 creative individuals. They're not just living a boring life where they wake up and all of a sudden, because they don't get a morning kiss while going out to work, that their lives have fallen apart.
Right.
It's not like, here's your lunch. Okay, bye.
No,
see you later. Their lives are extremely creative and beyond what we're used to.
Sure. So
when they fight, it's obviously blown right out of proportion, way beyond what we can think of. And I've been in this situation before where I've had a fight. Maybe I've faked some things in order to make things more creative or more shocking.
Ooh. Okay. Don't go into too much detail here. We don't want you to end up in a trial.
No, exactly. But let's just understand that these are not boring individuals. Even their fights they may have been fabricated to a certain point, but they're not going to be. He didn't say good morning to me, and and then I knew the day was wrong.
If that is what passes for creative today, then I'd rather not be creative. I'd rather be described as boring. I never, please, dear Lord, if you hear me now, dear God, I haven't prayed on the air for a long time. Dear God, if I should ever have
Didn't you have a Jesus moment before on air that got you into trouble?
Are you kidding? We're still yeah, we're still picking up the pieces from the last time I spoke to God on my show. Dear Lord, if I ever end up in a relationship where it goes so horribly wrong and I feel creative, don't let me shit in someone's bed or let someone shit in mine. Please do not let that happen.
You must know when it's bad, when your partner who has virtually no relationship with your family phones your family and says, please get this person under control.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah, boy. Yeah, boy, Baba.
Amber has as much creativity as a retarded cat. That's what Michael says. And Gary says, how creative must you be to shit in someone's bed? Beethoven was very creative.
Okay. I'll give a little hint. Maybe using beetroot juice to replace his blood in photographs.
Wow. Oh, come on.
People get creative.
All right. So somebody said, with Beethoven being mentioned now, that apparently when Beethoven saw that Napoleon had crowned himself Emperor of France, because he was a big Napoleon fan before that, and they lived around the same time, he took his Third Symphony and he had a temper tantrum and he slashed at it with knives. So I'm kind of hearing your creative explanation here, but I also think, like, there's a line. You know, you fall out of love. Like up here is in love, right? Up here is in love.
Gareth, when I'm sorry, I have to interrupt, because when it comes to love, there are no lines. When you fall that deeply, there are no lines.
That's horseshit. I can absolutely guarantee you, I will have gone long before this sort of drama starts to strike in my house. Long before.
Well, good. I'm so glad. And that's why there are people like you.
And let me tell you something else. You raise your hand to me as a woman, we're done. And I'm not going to fight you, because you'll get one good hit in if you're lucky, because I'll be completely unsuspecting.
What if you'll
get one shot?
What if she wasn't the first to raise the hand?
No, that won't be. No,
I hate to be #me too.
No, won't happen, because this Johnny Depp apparently took a beating from her quite regularly, so it won't happen. I'm not an aggressive guy. I get very mouthy, and I will say things that I regret, but I'll never hit someone.
As my mom always said about me, your mouth is your sword.
Right, and I've never even hit a man, and I know I could if I were put in a position where I had to, if it was to defend someone I loved. But if it was me, you get the one shot, right? And you better make it count, because after that, you're never going to see me again. And I mean, I hate to get serious after all of this entertainment, because this trial is just wacky. It is wacky. And I don't really care about Johnny Depp and Amber Heard. I mean, they're both insane.
I mean, the fact that this is being put, I put it to you, the fact that this is being put in front of a court of law is fascinating.
It's disgusting. The whole thing is just so embarrassing. I don't think anyone who had all this respect. I mean, I certainly thought Johnny Depp was this. He was this great. He still is a great actor, but I thought he was this superhuman Hollywood genius. You know, this guy who he was imbued with such talent and ability. And he is
kind of a genius, though.
Well, yes, but I've lost so much respect for him. Not to mention Amber. I mean, I don't know if I ever had respect for her, but I did think she was hot. That hot crazy scale, by the way. That is a real thing.
It has a limit.
Yeah. So there are lots and lots of these things that it's blown my mind what's going on. The way people will behave with each other when they've broken up. And, you know, the funny thing is, like, you would never do that if you were rational, because if you wanted someone to love you and to keep loving you, the last thing you would do is take a shit in their bed. I mean, from that point on, it's like it's no longer about love. This is now about getting something back, you know?
Can you imagine what's going on in your mind? Let's say no one's watching. It never comes to the media.
Wow.
No one ever finds out.
Someone, you
yeah.
know.
Do you know what's going on in your head at that stage? It's crazy.
That's certifiable. I mean, I've got to talk to Dr. Hanan about this when we have him on again. But she is, I mean,
Monday's topic. What does it take to take a shit in someone's bed?
Yeah. How lunatic do you have to be? Like, how red flag are you? How red is that flag? It's just insane. I've got a friend, and he's married, and the two of them.
Oh, shame.
The two of them fight like cat and dog. No. They're mostly happy, but they fight like cat and dog, right? When they fight, they say the most terrible things to each other, and I only obviously hear, a little bit of it. I don't know what's actually going on.
People thrive off that shit.
Ooh, they love they love the drama, right?
Yeah.
So, I that's just not something I would want to fill my day with. If I have an argument with someone at work, or if I have a disagreement with someone at work, forget an argument. Like, let's say we disagree about something, and it leads to both of us not feeling great about each other for a little while. I have to sort that out immediately. I have to get it back to at least a point where we're normal, where we can get along, where we can move ahead. I'm not comfortable keeping like the shit flowing, if you'll pardon the pun, with regard to the Johnny Depp story. I mean, I want it to be happy again. I want it to get better. I don't want it to get worse. Those people who like it to get worse, because there are those people. They get a thrill. They get a huge thrill out of making things worse.
It's not only a thrill. It's almost like the crime deserves the punishment.
Oh,
it's like, how bad was the transgression? It needs a certain amount of time of sulking, madness, ignoring.
Yeah. Yeah. Right. Anyway, look, I mean, I am so sorry I missed out on how entertaining this trial was. And from now on,
well, it's still going.
I'll pay closer attention. Yeah, it's still going. But I mean, I think we've missed the best part. How do you top the stuff we've heard in the last couple of heard? Amber Heard.
Oh, what?
That's what we needed. We needed some lavatorial humor with Amber Heard. Amber Turd. I love it. All right. Someone sent me a clip. Snai, who listens to the show, sent me a clip of what she thinks is what Michael Flax's aunt or mom would sound like if you bumped into them at the mall, right? I don't know, poor Michael Flax, but this is what Michael Flax. He was on the other day. You're not on Wednesdays, so you don't know this. But Michael Flax has been on the show a couple of times. I love that guy. He's such a good kid, and he's not a kid anymore. But when he started with us, he was 22.
Man.
Yeah, he's in his 30s now, or approaching them at least. So this is a clip that Snai reckons is indicative. I love it because it's someone on, I think it's TikTok, and I'm still not persuaded to go to TikTok, but this is entertaining. So there's a guy who's doing like an impersonation of what your primary school teacher bumping into you at the mall sounds like. Look at this.
Oh my goodness. Oh my God, ma, but I didn't see. I nearly walked past you. I didn't see. Is this mommy, huh? It's mommy. I need a long time. Oh my God, Dad. I never met the dad. They just like disappear. I'm showing, but now I was his English teacher. Miss Van Rensburg. He has to now. He has to now. He's too late. Oh my God, what skin did you get to? Say John, I say John, I take classics. Oh my God, what's your
All right, you get the basic idea, but I just love that. That's nice. That's good.
It reminds me of when I had just signed up with a dietitian.
Yeah.
And I bumped into her in Woolworths with a full trolley of shit.
That's got to be the most embarrassing thing. Now, you've just signed up with this dietitian. You're paying her money to give you all the right advice, and she catches you with sweets and chocolates.
Yeah. Look, it was like a Friday, and I was starting on the Monday.
She may as well have broken into your house and have been standing there when you opened the fridge door.
She might as well have snuffed my panties, you know. It was that intimate.
Oh my God. Hey, speaking of which, there's a great story. You've got the story about this this couple. This guy proposed to a woman in McDonald's, which again, even if you just did it at a nice little restaurant or a cafe on the side of the road or in a garden, it doesn't have to cost you money. But in McDonald's,
in Santa Nogal.
So this happened in Joburg.
So it's already like viral and stuff. It's really embarrassing.
I know which McDonald's. It's the one there at Greyston Drive, right?
It's actually the one in the Santon Mall.
Oh.
So you can't even just run into your car and disappear.
Oh. Okay, what happened? Give me the
and
lowdown.
It's a really busy McDonald's as well. And it's been caught on video.
Oh.
Yeah.
I'm not even. Oh, that's so embarrassing. All right, so what happened? Give us the
I mean, wasn't it just a few months ago when a proposal was caught on camera and then the fast food chain got involved and
was KFC or something? I can't remember.
It was made into a whole thing. Who knows? But a Twitter user called Madame_Fawcett posted this, and it's now gone viral, doll.
All right.
But they were actually in the McDonald's.
Mm-hmm.
He's photographed and videoed putting out this like gray box, a little gray box.
Yeah.
And there's no audio, but you see him doing this, and then the woman's like a bit taken aback.
Right.
And then does the worst thing that you'd imagine that is totally un-Disney, but she shakes her head.
Oh, shit.
Says a few, like, obviously choice words to her partner.
Yeah.
And then she completely just walks away. And he is left there standing with the box, with the shopping trolley, and with a little boy who's probably theirs.
Oh, no.
Standing with them as well.
All right, but
I'm sorry.
I mean, it's horrible, and I also want to laugh, but this poor guy, Sulungelo, says, is there a need to do it in front of a crowd? That was going to be another KFC couple situation. I think that's where this guy must have got the idea, because that one went well, right? That one
went well, but also, I mean, when you're proposing to someone, there's a lot at the top of your mind.
Right. So, Leigh-Ann, I've got a surprise.
That's just a big ring.
No, don't worry. Just books.
A
bunch of books. Sorry. There's
Gareth, if ever I had to marry you, it would be for your mind, not for the size of your ring. So I'll accept that.
Size of my ring. I'll tell you, Amber Heard. You would know if it was me or Amber Heard who made a turd. That's really romantic. That's about as romantic as I'm ever going to get right now.
So I reckon that this guy wasn't even thinking about the cameras. He was just going about his day-to-day life, and he thought, I mean, for some people, understand, going to McDonald's, like actually going to McDonald's is a special thing. When last did you actually go to a McDonald's as opposed to just driving through one? Maybe it was a special time.
I don't think I've ever gone to a McDonald's, and I'm not being snob. I've eaten McDonald's.
I went to one overseas. I went to one in London when it first came out.
No, come on. Even when it just opened up, I've never been to Burger King. Are you kidding? It's not this is not a special.
I'm sorry. It's a me moment, but I have to tell you, I was in London, and I was in the St. James area when I was working on the stock exchange in the day of papers and, a floor full of papers up to your knees. And I took a lunch break and went to the St. James area and went to a McDonald's for the first time in my life, and ordered a burger. And I was embarrassed because it was called a quarter pounder. And I was like, firstly, I don't know what pounds are, and probably not quarters.
Yeah.
But just, that's popular.
Well, in England, you might be persuaded to imagine that a quarter pounder would cost you, what, 25p?
Yeah, exactly. And they gave me this burger, and I sat down in a little corner with my briefcase and my business suit, opened this thing up, and it smelled like shit. It smelled like Amber Turd's shit.
Oh, so this is not a product placement from McDonald's, by the way. If McDonald's were paying for this show, they'd be thrilled at what you've just said. It's going so well.
No, I hope that they're not appearing in the next slot.
Isn't the quarter pounder exactly what was featured in when Samuel L. Jackson does we call it a Riaad with cheese. In fact, yeah, Congo Chris says
Pulp
that
Fiction?
now. Yeah, Pulp Fiction. You call it a Riaad with cheese, I call it quarter pounder. I think it was it. I can't remember.
Yeah. Opened this thing up and it stank. I went back up to the counter and said, "Hello.
There's something wrong.
I don't think that this burger's okay. There's something wrong with it." So they just took another one off of the Tetris of burgers and gave me another one.
And it smelled the same.
It smelled the same. I've never eaten and then when it came to South Africa, I realized it smelled exactly the same. So I've never eaten a beef McDonald's before. I go for their mush of chicken.
I'll tell you something. You've got to admire the consistency. If you can get a recipe, so, and I'm not a huge fan. I've eaten, like I said, I've eaten it before. I always feel a little bit guilty after I've eaten McDonald's or KFC. Those are not my favorite two fast food outlets. But when I've had them, and you can't help it, sometimes you're like, that's what I'm really craving. But you never feel good afterwards. If you interview, it's almost like if you've had sex with someone very ugly. You interview someone straight afterwards, because before they're like, yeah, I'm horny enough, I'll do this, I'm ready to do this, I'm going for it, and you look at that person afterwards and you go, I feel so shitty about myself.
Oh no, Gareth, please.
No, really. And you feel the same way.
No, shame on you.
No, it's true. It's called post-coital depression. And you get it when you've had sex with someone who you really shouldn't have. And
PCD.
they really...
It either sounds like a drug or, it sounds like something that you'd lace a girl's drink with. PCD.
Yeah, well, it's funny because that's the opposite. It's almost like they've laced George Mienie. Why would I take you home? Anyway, so after that, you feel the same way as after a McDonald's burger. I always feel, this is going to be so nice. And then I eat it. And usually it's in the car, which is even more disgusting. And then you look at the wrapping sitting on the passenger seat. And you look at your hands, which are all greasy, and now you're driving and you're putting the grease on the steering wheel. And
oh God, the worst is driving past beggars.
And you've got that No, hang on. You get that feeling of like, I've just eaten something that's really awful for me. And I don't feel good. I feel heavy. I feel like my body is saying, why are you doing this to me? Didn't you do exercise today? You've just canceled that out, you stupid son of a bitch. It's the same feeling. And
their chips are made in oil of guilt.
I can't stand that feeling. So I won't do it. But to propose, now after all of this, we've laid the groundwork. After all this, you propose to someone in there in front of a crowd of people and you wonder why your life is going horribly wrong. Someone said in the comments just now, and I completely agree, some people have been led to believe that their life is a movie. It's really not. And if you think it's a movie, it's a shockingly bad movie. It's the kind of movie that people get up and leave the cinema. And that's what this girl did to that guy at McDonald's. Now, I can't feel sorry for him. I'm sorry. You made your bed, lie in it. You created this trouble.
It's almost like telling kids all around the world at the same time that Father Christmas doesn't exist. But life isn't romantic. It's just not.
No, it's not.
You might as well. It's a proposal.
This is Disney's fault.
I would better accept a proposal if it was overeating Wheat Bix in the morning and saying, "What are your plans for today?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. I think we should get married. Oh, okay, that's a pretty good idea considering our finances and our situation. I'd better accept that."
I was listening to somebody the other day who was telling me about the proposal that that he and his wife, and he said it was so unromantic. It was like they were driving somewhere, and he's like, "Yeah, maybe we should just get married." And she was like, "Yeah, that's a good idea." And that was their proposal situation. It wasn't romantic at all. But they're still married, and they will be for a long time because they're very sensible people. They're not
very practical.
They're not hooked on some romantic vision of what things are. Congo Chris says, post-nut regret. We've all had a one-night stand like that. Gareth is 100% correct. Thank you. I should hope so. Robin says,
I had to count them.
Robin says, I've never eaten McDonald's nor had sex with an ugly man. Robin, you've never had sex with a man. Just stop talking nonsense. And it says, post-fraternizing with a grenade syndrome, otherwise known as the walk of shame. Yeah, that's also true. The walk of shame is related to this discussion. For all the people that say they don't like McDonald's and KFC, the best franchises, I love both. Okay, well, listen, I'm not telling you should go and eat or don't eat it. You do whatever you want. I'm just
no, for sure.
I've done it, and I'm telling you how I feel afterwards. Some things in your life you're just not proud of. And I include all of these in that same category.
Yeah.
You know?
Great.
Anyway, look, let's take a look at one or two headlines quickly because we do want to get to some of those. We've got an awesome couple of things coming up for you this morning. So let me give you a quick preview so you can get yourself ready for this. We're going to do a couple of headlines. Then I want to tell you about this BMW interview. Remember I mentioned the other day, I was with Dr. Moosa, who's a TV personality and a doctor, but he's also very into cars. He's a proper petrol head. And Francisco Nwamba, who's a motoring journalist. And the two of them are the best people to tell you about this new BMW iX, which I can't tell you about. They will have to. And I've recorded an interview with them. I went to BMW's beautiful showroom in Sandton. And we had two of these cars parked right there. So you'll see them in the background while I'm talking to these gents. And they will give you the lowdown on these amazing cars. And I want you to see it all for yourself, which is why we recorded a video. So that's coming up in just a few minutes. We've also got Riaad Moosa joining us later on. He's always fantastic. He's got a brand new show on, but we want to catch up with him and find out what he's been up to. Because the last time we had him on, it was with Joey Rasdeen. And the two of them were... They turned almost into a therapy session for Joey. I felt kind of bad. Because it was like me and you and Riaad, and then we were all listening to Joey pouring his heart out. So
yeah, because Joey went through some serious shit during the downtimes.
Yeah, he had a very, very unhappy couple of years. So I'm glad that we did it, but I did feel bad because we brought Riaad on and he just became like a therapist. So we're going to have Riaad on again today, and this time to just shoot the breeze and talk some shit. So we've got him coming up. Stick around for that and a whole lot more. Plus, I got a really interesting email from Joanne, which I want to share with you just now. Joanne. So she's got some things to tell us. All right. So headlines. Let's just quickly glance at these.
Yeah, we need to know what's going on.
The Antwoord secret artist spoke out after the abuse. Listen, I still don't know how this story works, but
the dramatics.
The Antwoord secret artist Ben J. Crossman has told News 24 he regrets not speaking out earlier about witnessing child abuse and exploitation by Ninja and Yolandi. Crossman recorded the video of their foster son, Gabriel,
I am your butterfly.
Speaking out after 12 years of abuse and neglect at the hands of the international music stars. So this seems like a real story. This is not part of the act. This is real.
Is this not labeled as press release _2 in their marketing manager's files?
No. This looks like it's a real thing. And trust me, if you're starting to, if you're putting out nonsense about child abuse and you think that that's going to land well with people, I think you have got a very bad barometer for what the market wants. I've never ever met anyone who's gone, oh, I'm really into that band because of their child abuse. And I don't think anyone in the world thinks that way, unless you're a total psychopath. So it looks like that's a real thing. Obviously, more details will emerge, but this is not looking good for the Antwoord at the moment. And they'll obviously be asking the band some questions because there seems to be a trail of abuse in the wake of that band.
Have you ever, I'm just imagining the interview caught on camera. Have you ever heard them speak out of character?
No, but they're going to have to for this. This is serious. There are legal consequences. And I'm really, they always say that they're these brilliant and creative people. And the Antwoord's one of those things that we, as South Africans, for a while, it was one of the things people knew about South Africa, right? They're like, oh, the Antwoord. I love those guys, all over the world. And it turns out they're freaks. It's upsetting. Transport Minister Fikile Mbalula says there will be no further extensions for driver's license renewals. He says efforts will be made to help motorists get their licenses done on time. Over 1 million expired licenses have yet to be renewed. The backlog was caused in part by the hard lockdown and problems with the license printing machine. But he says no more. You got to get that license sorted out ASAP. Sure. It's getting very serious, Fikile. Apparently, according to a psychologist in the Johnny Depp trial, and now you can see I'm all into this, right? This psychologist testified that Amber Heard suffers from twin personality disorders. Shannon Curry, a clinical and forensic psychologist, said she had examined Heard's mental health records and personally evaluated her for 12 hours over 2 days in December 2021, so last year. It was her opinion that the 36-year-old actress who had a starring role in the movie Aquaman has borderline personality disorder and histrionic personality disorder. She obtained scores.
I'm sure there's a lot going on there.
Well, I mean, listen, if you get away with these two personality disorders, I think you're getting off lightly as Amber Heard. She says her scores were consistent with these diagnoses. Lawyers for Heard sought to discredit Curry's testimony during cross-examination, noting that she had been hired by Depp's attorneys to testify on his behalf. So what? She's still got work that she can prove here. If you didn't find something that would be in favor of Mr. Depp and negative to Ms. Heard, you wouldn't be an expert in this case, said an attorney for Heard. I present science regardless of what the science may be, Curry responded. Curry said some of the primary characteristics of borderline personality disorder include a lot of inner anger and hostility and a tendency to be self-righteous with fluctuating moods. Well, that describes a lot of people. They can react violently. They can react physically. Oftentimes, they will be abusive to their partners. Curry, who has experience with U.S. combat veterans, said it was her opinion that Heard did not suffer from post-traumatic stress disorder. Heard grossly exaggerated her symptoms of PTSD in a test she was given. It's just unbelievable.
Sure.
It's so, this trial's just, you've got to watch it. You have nothing to do this weekend, and it's a long weekend. Watch this stuff.
But again, it can be relatable. If you do relate, what I'm saying is if you do relate, don't feel bad.
Maybe to you crackpot. Apparently, this is amazing. Johannesburg hasn't had any working speed cameras for more than a year. Yes.
What?
Yes. Yeah. None of the speed cameras in Joburg have been working for over a year.
Oh, that explains things.
Apparently, since 31 May 2021, the Joburg Metro...
No, actually, that pisses me off because I'm a conformist.
No, you are. So you've been slowing down for nothing.
Yes. No, it's not slowing down. I've been driving at maximum 60 in residential areas.
Well, apparently the tender to repair or supply speed cameras in the city closed earlier this month, and they're hoping to have the issue resolved by the end of June. But in the meantime, the city's lost millions in revenue.
Fingers crossed.
To do so. Oh, please. This is so ridiculous. So typical, though. I mean, the Metro police are just, they're such bozos. And this is
actually
another...
bust an ex cheating because a letter landed in my post and I opened it, and it was a speed camera thingy, and I recognized the background of where he was, and I looked up the date.
Oh,
Yeah.
and you saw that was when he told you he was at work.
It's an hashtag Amber Heard story for another time.
Let me just finish off with this, another stupid thing. So I say this is stupid because Samsung have had to apologize for an ad which shows a woman getting up at 2 a.m. to go for a run through the streets of a city alone. Now, what?
Why?
Well, it's been criticized by some women's running groups and safety campaigners for being unrealistic.
I'm finished.
You want to sit these people down and say to them, do you know what advertising is? You know when they say that cough mixture will help you get over a cough? You know that is unrealistic too? Because some people have tuberculosis and they might think that the cough medicine will help them. That is advertising, you morons.
Oh, I know. No.
Samsung, here's the problem, is if these corporations just had some balls, they would stand up to them and say, it's an advert, you children. Who told you that everything that you see has to be true? Haven't you realized it's not? Do you watch TV?
Can't.
So anyway, the Night Owls campaign was designed with a positive message in mind to celebrate individuality and freedom to exercise at all hours. Women's safety group Reclaim Them Streets, that's what they're called, has described it as tone deaf in the light of the death of Aisling Murphy, who was killed on a run.
Would we have known about this group until they spoke out?
Nah. Anyway, so apparently now, or just so of course, there were women who were now blissfully unaware that they should be waking up at 2 a.m. But thank God for Samsung in this ad, because now they're going to be up at 2 a.m. running through the most dangerous parts of Joburg. Good move.
Hordes, like headline, hordes of women waking up at 2 a.m.
Taking to the road at 2 a.m. because of Samsung. Idiots. These are the people we live among. There's a group of women who got together in London. This is in England. And they were like, well, we've got to stop this.
Can you imagine being on their WhatsApp group?
Or on their mailing list. Gee, there must be. Well, imagine now after they've got Samsung to apologize. We won. Ladies, congratulations. This is another victory for women runners everywhere.
We the best.
We the best, not we're. We. Stupid.
We won again.
Yeah. Good for us. Yay, girls. Let's have Chardonnay on Friday to celebrate.
Right.
Anyway. All right, listen.
Run a mile in our shoes.
Yeah.
Exploding. Absolutely. Exploding with, white. Oh, God.
What? Finish that thought. That sounded like Amber Heard stuff. All right, so I've got to take your attention away from the stupid and return you to the stuff that matters. Now, we did an interview a little while ago with Francisco Nwamba and Dr. Moosa. I told you about this. I'm going to play it for you today on the show. It's about 12 minutes long, and I want you to hear two smart people who know a lot more about cars than I do, and especially about electric cars. It's always best to do these things on a Friday because we've got George on, and he's on later on today, so it all kind of fits in with the flow. And I spoke about the iX in a way that an amateur, a person who loves cars but doesn't know a lot about them would. These guys can give you a lot more information. It's a fully electric vehicle. It's got a 600-kilometer range. It's got crystal buttons, a self-healing grille, panoramic roof, and so much more. We also shot an awesome reveal video with Dr. Moosa and Francisco where we really show off the car and its features, and we want you to go and take a look at that on our YouTube channel. That's coming soon. But before we get to any of that, let me show you the actual video. This is very, very cool. And hopefully we'll give you a little insight into this tremendous car. We'll be back with a whole lot more. So don't go anywhere. Watch this and then stick around because we've got a whole lot more coming for you, including Riaad Moosa. Well, as you know, we've been doing some really interesting stuff with BMW. I've spoken to the CEO, who's an amazing man. We've spoken to people here in South Africa who are involved, especially in electric vehicles. And today I have two, what do I call you guys? Car nuts. I heard you talking earlier.
You could also say 60 guys. I wouldn't mind
sure.
that title.
I could also call you brilliant and all of those things. We'll get to that. But But really, the point of having you on this show is to talk about this particular car, this magnificent beast behind us, which you two know a whole lot more about than most people. So we'll start. First of all, Francisco, we've done a series already together, and it's been an incredible journey, and also finding out about the future of electric vehicles and where everything in transport is going, how innovation is just running apace and making everything that we thought we knew feel old the day after we knew it.
It's literally a time where we're living in the future. It feels like, we're finally at that point now where we thought, we're going to get to this Jetsons era. And we're finally there with the technology that's out there with these vehicles. It's phenomenal.
Well, Francisco, in case you don't know, and maybe you've only heard him on one or two series that we've done, but Francisco Mwamba is, of course, a respected and knowledgeable automotive journalist. He's also someone who's an entrepreneur in his own right. And our other guest is Dr. Moosa, who, how do you combine the role of being a medical doctor with being a car enthusiast like you are?
I do, but it's also difficult because there's so many other things that one wants to do, We're sitting chatting about this before this, that, you find guys that enjoy cars, but you and I could chat about, shoes because you like shoes.
Yeah.
There's so many little pockets that you drop yourself into, but it's just love at the end of the day. It's the stuff that we all love.
Well, I don't know if you two knew each other before this.
No. We did not, but it feels like we've known each other for a long time now.
You had to see them to believe it. It was like two brothers had discovered that they were related after thinking nothing about each other.
Know.
Maybe. Naughty fathers.
Yeah, you never know. All right, so just tell us about where this all started for you.
So this all started for me when there's that brand that we all know about that has the electric vehicles. And the moment they brought out that vehicle, the first thing, and I had a list of vehicles that I wanted next. I was like, let's move this one up. And I want this specific model coming in next. But South Africa being South Africa and things taking the time that they have, you sit and you wait and you sit and you wait. And then i3s are launched and i8s are launched. And that excitement kind of comes up. You're like, okay. And then
you have to give props for BMW for being as fast as they have been.
They have. So even before that, for me, was there's a hybrid, but I'm going to wait a bit because the range is not that great. And then out of the blue, I kid you not, someone says, oh, cool, they've got 630 kilometer ranges now. I was like, okay, now I'm interested. Tell me more. And then I found out about this iX, and I've been in love ever since.
Well, this iX, you've been driving it too, right?
Yeah.
What's that like?
It is a completely different experience. So I think if you're a car guy like us, you're used to the foot down, that comes with it. And this is different because you've got the same sort of, whiplash feel that you get when you put your foot down in a petrol vehicle. But this is all electric and no one hears anything. But you're moving at such a pace. It's so cost effective as well when it comes to not having to go to the garage. And absolute silence every time.
This time you can actually... You can hear it almost as if like you've got super senses.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because you're not drowned out by the sound of your car. You don't have to turn whatever you're listening to, podcasts, music. You don't have to turn it up to like 1,000 decibels to be able to hear what's going on. Exactly. And you can hear what's going on outside the car. So it's probably safer as well, right?
Yeah, very much so. And it's a weird thing. It's a bit eerie in the beginning because when you jump into the vehicle and you start it...
I didn't even know. I tried to turn it on just now and I wasn't sure whether I'd turn it on.
Exactly that. So, the technology behind it, it's quite interesting how the fact that it's silent kind of plays with your head because... Dr. Moosa said something quite interesting about just how it delivers its power because an electric car obviously has got instant torque.
Sure.
So you have to prepare your mind because if you put your foot down, all of that power is absolutely instant. So
it's available to you right there and then.
Exactly. And at the same time, you've got your energy break recuperation. So when you're off the power, then you're still saving and actually building up power for you to keep going.
Is that what that is? Yes, jeez. I was wondering what happened. I was like, why is this car braking itself? Yes. That's what I kept thinking the whole time. I was like, hey, accelerate, stop braking. But now I get what's happening because it's charging and then I'd find myself with more range all of a sudden.
Exactly.
You see, this is... I knew we'd end up talking about the car, but I actually wanted to ask you both where your love for cars came from before we even get into this particular monster.
I think for me, it's just been a guy that grew up in the township. You grow up, you see the latest something or the other that comes from the family down the road that have bought themselves a new BMW, and you're just like, the one day when I grow up. And then in your mind, you start forming...
BMW has in South Africa probably more brand clout than almost anything else, right?
Totally,
100%.
I mean, especially if you grew up in the townships,
Exactly
know BMW, it's right up there on the top of the pyramid when you look at
Exactly
it.
that.
Right up there. I mean, I think for me, it was my parents, when I was much younger, they bought themselves a 5 Series, and I was like, whoa, must be nice. And then from there, seeing an E30, for instance, so the old 3 Series, I recently just got one myself, and I built one from the scratch and all those sort of things. So it's just love that comes with desire initially and becomes a love for vehicles. And then that obviously then spreads over into other brands and the cool things that they may have as well.
What about you, Francisco?
So my journey is a weird one. I was a kid that would just sit and draw. I'll draw, all sorts of things. And I've got an older brother, and he literally said to me, stop drawing, come watch Top Gear. So from there, I just thought, let me watch Top Gear, but I'll still draw, and I'll just draw cars. So I just started drawing cars, and just from there, literally, I've always wanted to be involved in that space. Always love vehicles, but not just for the fact that they, take you from A to B, but just how they make you feel. And speaking about BMW, same thing with myself. We grew up in Soweto, and as a result of that, that is BMW haven. So as a result, when you grow up, it's kind of one of those things that you have to tick that box and say, I drive a BMW. So for me, it started from a very early age, but family has always loved BMWs and at the same time, all types of vehicles. So definitely something from an early age.
So getting into this thing, I mean, you can't but notice the Swarovski crystal on the center console there. You got it on the doors. I mean, it does feel like all these cars that are trying to come up with something new, none of them has thought of anything like this before. This is it's almost like getting in a spaceship.
It does. It feels like you're walking into Diamond Walk. You take a step into it and you're like, oh, what's this fancy thing? What's going on here? Because you got that sleek curved screen that's in there. You've got these sort of crystal looking things on the knob as well as on the door. You try to open a door and you have to press a button to step.
I know the door. I was standing there like an idiot trying for like
How do I do this?
2 minutes. I was like,
How do I
press
do this?
And then I realized you actually have to. By the way, closing the door is a whole other thing.
Yes.
Because you don't slam it like you do.
It's very graceful.
All these terrible vehicles the rest of us are driving. When you have one of these, you just kind of push and then it seals itself.
It's one thing we've spoken about quite a lot. It's an issue of opulence,
Yes.
Gareth. If you live an opulent life with opulent lifestyles.
It's like those people. Have you been into those kitchens with those people where they go and this whole
Thing.
coffee machine thing comes out?
Yes.
Feels like that.
Exactly.
Only obviously because this is a moving vehicle, that much more impressive.
Definitely.
And it's still a sustainable vehicle because even though as it looks the way it does, it's very fancy, it still loves the environment. I mean, you've got vegan leather, which is quite an interesting
What does that
thing.
even mean? I kind of get it, but
It means you're not going to get the greens upset.
Oh,
There we
okay.
go.
Those people.
They're not gonna
The
throw paint at my
environmentalists,
car.
They're not going to be like painting your car with like tins of paint and like screaming about how you're killing the environment. They're
Lovely.
going to be happy with you.
Okay, good.
That's interesting. I didn't even know that about it. So what's your favorite thing about the car?
One of my favorite features in the car is the full panel that is transparent but becomes like opacified and dark when you want it to. So you press a button and it kind of covers up. And that's because, when the sun's up in the middle of the day, you don't want the sun hitting your face. So you press a button and it goes twing, and then it just gets dark. It's
That's
beautiful.
amazing.
Yeah,
That's
love
like sci-fi.
Very much
it is.
so.
It really is.
What's your favorite thing?
I'd say the front end. And it's interesting because that front end was very controversial. Everybody was like, this is something that we've never seen
It's
before.
a step away from
The
everything else.
self-healing element of it is what blows my mind the most. And I actually had to find out if I'm not being caught up in an April Fool's joke or something. But a self-healing grill has got to be one of the craziest things I've actually encountered in a vehicle. So stone chips, all sorts of things like that. It's not going to really matter as long as after 24 hours you leave the car out in normal room temperature or you apply heat on it. The next day your stone chip is gone.
Unbelievable.
Sounds crazy. It feels like, when with the other vehicles that are coming from BMW that change colors, you're like,
Yeah.
how? Like, what? What?
Yeah.
Exactly.
Witchcraft.
Yeah, well, Buloi, I would have gone there, yes.
Wow. Okay, so electric vehicles in general, we're all very excited about these. It's inevitably going to be the future. It's also, considering petrol prices these days, something everybody's much more excited about than they should be.
Yes.
Because electric vehicles are obviously the way for us to be able to move forward without having to have all these fossil fuels, without having to have the exorbitant cost of petrol. And the world economy will change as a result of this.
Very much so. I mean, electric vehicles now, especially in South Africa, we've just seen a resurgence of, it started off with BMW. They were actually the early adopters. Early on, they came out with these cars. And now we can see that there's a big shift happening. And consumers are starting to understand now what's going on. I mean, you go to major malls now, there's charging stations, it's becoming more accessible. So definitely in the next 10 to 15 years, we're going to see many more electric vehicles in our market.
I think it's very exciting. The fact that, when things start to happen, other people start to adapt. So not other car brands, let's leave those alone. But the fact that when you know that you've got electric vehicles, it puts pressure on policymakers to say, cool, we can't charge so much in terms of import taxes on these expensive electric vehicles. So it moves the price of an electric vehicle.
We're talking to you, governments.
There we go. I don't want to say that, but yes. To get the pricing right? Because you want people to stay away from fossil fuels and all these conventions that exist in the world, to rather go buy an electric vehicle.
But also, you guys know this, and I mean, I'm not as much of a motorhead as you guys are, but it was always uncool. The hybrids were okay. They were all right. People were like, oh, I'm trying to show that I'm moving into the future. But they weren't. Now this is a step in a completely foreign direction from where we were when people like electric cars. I don't know. Is that like those little things that they ride around, those golf carts that they ride around shopping malls?
Exactly that. And one of the major things is power figures, because people think electric, they don't think performance, but they don't actually realize that these cars, there's no such thing as a slow electric car. They're all very fast. So the petrol heads who are resisting the change have now started to embrace the change because they know that these cars are actually faster than any of their normal petrol cars.
The other thing about it is that they're also just sexier cars.
I'm into the aesthetics.
Exactly.
I don't know about torque and 0 to 100 in how many seconds. I don't know anything about that stuff. You guys, that's your area of expertise. But the attractiveness of it, the way it looks, the way it feels when you're driving it, that's what I'm all about.
That's it. Very, very sexy cars that everyone can go, ooh, what is this one called? Because it looks so new, so sexy, and isn't the standard old, ugly-looking electric vehicles.
Mm-hmm.
And that is true, because old electric cars weren't the prettiest. But these cars look like something we've never seen before. It really does, draw so much attention. You actually have to get used to that on the road.
Sure.
Because when I was driving, I thought to myself,
and you mentioned the front of this car, but those lights at the back.
Yeah. Very sleek. It's like little small LEDs, soft lighting. Again, opulent, as we said.
Opulence.
I like
Gareth,
that word.
Opulence.
Well, I mean, this is what we wanted you guys to essentially do, is to help the rest of us who are not as well informed and not as into the knowledge as you are, and the experience, obviously, because we're not all going to get the chance to drive this straight away. So as it comes into the market, as we start to learn about it, we need people who we can trust telling us about it. And I appreciate you both giving us some time.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Awesome stuff. Thank you.
CliffCentral.com.
This week on the Auto Trader podcast.
Ferraris actually they definitely first as contractors as well, because Charles has 71 points, which is more than Mercedes.
Well, I've just looked it up. So I mean, Sainz is not doing that badly.
Yeah.
Perez is also not doing that badly. But if I look at the last couple of races, both Sainz and Perez have been way off their teammates. Catch us every Monday at 9 a.m. on YouTube and on autotrader.co.za.
Just because it's about technology, connecting your business to the rest of the world doesn't mean you need to send rockets to space and use complicated solutions. Want to simplicate things? Well, join Jaco Voigt, who is the CEO of Catalytic, on the Unbundled podcast. With skin in the game and a keen focus on educating and assisting you and your business, Jaco decodes all the aspects of connectivity, security, and cloud solutions. Unbundled is brought to you by Catalytic, and is available on cliffcentral.com, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. Yep, indeed. It is Friday morning, cliffcentral.com, and another weekend, a long weekend ahead for you. So whether you deserve it or not, that's what you've got. Before you blink, it's going to be May. We're actually celebrating 8 years of Cliff Central on Monday. We're not going to make a big fuss of it because we're not even on air on Monday. But that's quite an achievement. You know, if your child turns 8, you've actually managed not to kill it before the age of 8. I think that's quite nice. So well done to the team on putting together some incredible content with BMW. You can see the actual video of the reveal with all the features. The car itself will be front and center, and Francisco and Dr. Moosa are doing a terrific job there. You can watch that on our YouTube channel, so keep an eye on cliffcentral.com. It is Friday. It's the 29th of April. Here's Leigh-Ann Mole and me. We're here. Were you squinting? Were you like closing your one eye?
I was, because I was squinting. I was squinting at your biceps because you're looking quite buff in that video. Hey,
thanks a lot. I'm feeling very,
have you
very
been
lazy.
working out?
No, you know what the problem is I think I had COVID for the last week or two. But even if it wasn't, it was flu, and I just didn't want to do any, tempting of fate and end up sicker by going to gym. But I'm going to get back into it from Monday, and I'm not going to relent.
No, good on you for keeping in shape, huh?
I don't want to be a fat, useless, lazy person, because I'm always critical.
Don't want to be a fatty, huh?
If I get fat, I'm going to be lambasted by the fat community because I've been so outspoken about them for the longest time. All right. Just quickly, let me give you, while we're talking about all the stuff that we're doing at Cliff Central and the fact that we're 8 years old, we've also got Health Matters, a brand new episode of that. Clinical psychologist Jeannie Cavey joins Ryan O'Connor on the latest episode of Health Matters to help us navigate this important subject. What is the subject? Well, childhood. Supposed to be a happy, carefree time in our lives. But these days, there are many kids and teenagers who are struggling with anxiety. The levels of anxiety are through the roof in America. They say,
you know what I thought of just yesterday is that Elon Musk was, and I read a story on it, how he was bullied at school in Epitoli.
Yeah. That's one of the reasons. It's one of the reasons he doesn't want very much to do with South Africa. He's very much an American now. And
I saw a comment earlier, I think it was Congo Chris, saying, I wish he would buy Twitter and then just delete it.
Well,
can you imagine?
A bit of a waste of $43 billion, but yes. So on Health Matters, which is, of course, brought to you by Cipla, they're going to talk about anxiety, depression, other related issues with kids who are dealing with these things in a way that maybe we didn't deal with them when we were at school, or certainly it wasn't spoken about very much.
We just buried it.
You just had to grin and get on with it, make the most of whatever you had. But you can listen to this podcast with Jeannie Cavey and with Ryan O'Connor. Health Matters is brought to you by Cipla, and it's all on cliffcentral.com or wherever you listen to podcasts. So you can look it up on any of the other podcast servers and it'll come up. Health Matters. Go and take a look and take a listen today.
Nice.
All right. Nos. So speaking of Twitter, apparently, I don't know if this is a joke or something. April's over now, so you can't be pulling April Fool's jokes. But did I read correctly that maybe Elon Musk wants to bring Jack Dorsey back into Twitter? Is this a true story?
You would be... It's #false if you think it's true. This is a Chinese company that has done a full, in-depth research on what Elon Musk is doing with Twitter.
Yeah, well, he hasn't even started. I don't know what this Chinese company, whether they can read the future or anything. He's only owned it for a day, and he hasn't even taken possession of it yet.
So they're saying, these Chinese analysts, just think about this, and they have a point. Okay. They're saying the reasons for his restoration of Twitter are basically, the first thing, Musk is in charge of Tesla and SpaceX. Dorsey and Musk are close friends. They have a good relationship.
Right.
And that this good relationship is an essential factor for Dorsey to return to Twitter as CEO. They both share the same ideas on how Twitter should work. Because remember, Jack Dorsey started Twitter with these fresh-faced ideas.
Yeah, but he became one of the reasons that it deteriorated. You can't blame Parag Agrawal or whatever his name is, the current CEO. I think that's bullshit. First of all, I think it's Chinese disinformation. And you know how I feel about China at the moment. China must pay for coronavirus. I don't know where you get this information, Leigh-Ann, but you got to stop reading bullshit.
No, I'm just telling you. I knew this story would strike a nerve. So that's why I brought it up.
Are you going to go back into doing the stuff you used to do on Twitter? I was thinking about this.
Remember that Elon Musk, the reason why he's taken over is because he actually stated he doesn't have confidence in the management of Twitter. So remember that the current CEO, Parag Agrawal, he said he's not a good fit for managing the company. And then obviously Dorsey resigned.
Okay, well, you know what? You told that story very badly because Congo Chris says it better. He says, Jack is mates with Joe Rogan and Elon. Elon will reinstate him if Joe asks. In the meanwhile, we get to watch the CMO and CEO lose their minds, and I love watching these emotional breakdowns. Yeah, listen, I've got to tell you the funniest things.
Yeah.
Gareth, you got to calm down, says Carl. The funniest things, watching these people who are like, oh, no, Twitter's going to be terrible. It's going to be a place that's not democratic, and there's going to be no free speech. Oh yeah, you could see even those disgusting women from The View, those horrible harpies on The View. They're like,
we all remember Whoopi Goldberg's fart.
Yeah, well,
that's the only thing I ever took away from The View.
And
when she farted live on air.
And when Joy Behar fell off her chair, that was funny too. When she slammed her big old ass onto the ground. Anyway, they were going on about Twitter, and now it's going to be ruined because Elon Musk is going to make it all about right-wing speech. These people are insane. Lord. They're insane. And what they're revealing by saying this is not so much that Elon Musk is going to change things, but that the left in America had a complete control of Twitter and probably does the other social media networks. There's just they're showing you that they know it was all bullshit. They're showing you that because they used to say the left in America were always saying, oh no, Twitter's very fair. It's just keeping off the hate speech. That's what it's all about. It's not trying to silence anybody else who doesn't have the opinions of the American left. It's not trying to shadow ban people or distribute their tweets less and kind of prioritize other people who are more on our political side. They're not doing that. And then as soon as Elon Musk takes over, they're all losing their minds, which proves they knew all of that stuff was going on.
Yeah.
Proves they were full of it from the get-go.
Otherwise, they wouldn't have given a damn.
Yeah. Apparently 90% of women with green hair have gone into complete breakdowns, says Parallel.
We know how you feel about women with strangely colored hair, Gareth.
Well, that's a red flag. I've told you. That's a big red flag. By the way, if you've noticed a major change in your Twitter following over the next couple of days, this is apparently because, and no one at Twitter will admit it, they're saying this is just a natural growth by certain markets and a decline in others. but apparently a lot of people who found themselves being blocked or banned or, given a cool down period or whatever on Twitter over the last 3 to 5 years, apparently a lot of those people are saying they're seeing huge numbers of increased following since Elon Musk announced he was going to take over. And the story behind the scenes is that the people who work at Twitter are basically document shredding. They're basically going in now to make it look like there wasn't any manipulation going on, because it's all going to come out now. So it's going to be fun.
Are you still active on Twitter?
No, haven't been for a long time, but I can.
I'm just looking at mine. I tweeted in August of 2021, and then my last tweet was March this year.
Yeah.
And what have you noticed your followers going down at all?
Leigh-Ann, you're asking me very complicated questions for so early in the morning. Hang on a second.
I'll have a look.
I'm sorry, I don't have any. I don't know what my login. This is so embarrassing.
You're still verified. You have 1.9 million followers. The last time you tweeted was a retweet of April the 27th. So you're still there.
Wasn't me. It was my team.
Oh.
There we go. I don't have the logins. I can't even see. So I don't know if I've gone up or down or.
Yeah,
anything.
you're right, because your tweets are generally like Cliff Central related stuff.
Mm-hmm.
You have a video of me putting a cloth over my head.
Yeah, I don't think I've said anything for a very long time, but I don't know. Maybe I'll go back.
Maybe it's time to come back.
Maybe we'll see. Let's see how it goes. I'm not excited about this because I had my run with Twitter and I've had my fun there. I don't want to go back in a hurry. But let's see. Twitter even censors criticism of the EFF. No jokes. Wow. Okay, I didn't know that. I don't know if I believe that, but let's see.
Wow.
Mongezi's asking the same question. I don't know. I mean, if I've got 1.9 million people who are hanging around there and maybe interested in what I say, maybe I will pay attention. But for a long time, it was just, there was no good to be found there. And I said that the best thing that could happen is that someone just buys it and closes it down, which is what I think Congo Chris said earlier. Let's see what happens. I'm not expecting it to be a complete sea change. And whatever happens here is going to take a while to start to happen. So let's not rush into
I don't
this.
know, with Elon Musk around, it might be shorter than a while.
Yeah, well, he gets things done, this guy. I've seen a couple of really bizarre comments. Like there are a lot of people in America, like Joy Reid on MSNBC, who said, oh, Elon Musk is basically a white male chauvinist racist. And he got that because he grew up in South Africa, apartheid South Africa. So he wants to bring that to Twitter. I'm like, Jesus,
wow.
you must be stupid. Sure. You must be dumb as a box of rocks to say something like that. I mean,
yeah, let's remember that this is an autistic man, self-confessed. The first time he ever spoke about it was on Saturday Night Live. People suspected it for a while, and he came out with it. So I kind of,
as far as I can tell,
he's thinking that deeply.
Yeah, and Elon is not some right winger, for God's sake.
No.
I mean, this is a guy if he's a right winger, he has a weird way of showing it by owning the company that's making the biggest difference to global warming in the world, which is kind of a left-wing concern, you know?
Yeah, he's kind of not even thinking about those things. He's thinking way bigger, like outer space.
Yeah. Well, someone said, 43 billion. Couldn't that have been spent on saving the planet? And you're like, hang on, you idiot who said that. This is the guy who owns the biggest electric car company in the world. You'd think he'd be doing his stuff already. Anyway, I'm just going to leave it alone because I don't know. I don't know that it's
one last thing. I read an article about here's what Elon Musk did on his first day of owning Twitter.
Mm.
And the article went on to say he basically did nothing because he was focused on his other two businesses. And then the article spun it around by saying, this is real focus. Now you need to be able to focus like he does.
Let me tell you something.
People will make news out of anything.
Out of all the businesses this guy has owned and started and run, this is the easiest one. This is not complicated. I know media people. Media people are stupid. And
This
Twitter's
is a hobby.
It's
talking
a hobby.
Talking
Right.
about
You want to
coin
launch
exchange.
You want to launch rockets into space. SpaceX, how that you require some serious brains and money and fortitude and drive and determination. I mean, he said, we're going to spend X amount of money, and if we don't get it right, that's it. And then they kept screwing it up and failing because they obviously learn from every mistake. And he just kept going even after he'd passed his own limit for how much he was going to spend. This guy does not give up. That's a business. Tesla's a business. Twitter's a joke, man. Come on. Even if you think this is the most important thing Elon Musk has done, you've not been paying attention.
It's funny, though, how we appropriate what he's done completely differently. Like, we're putting so much weight on the fact that he's bought part of Twitter. And in the meantime, he's doing so much greater things.
He hasn't just bought part of it. He's going to privatize the company. He's bought the whole of it. Every square inch, every cent.
But still, it's a hobby.
No. Okay. Well, let's leave that alone. I've got someone much more important waiting in the wings to talk to us than you and I waxing lyrical with everybody in the comments about Elon Musk. I want to talk to Riaad Moosa. It seems that Durban has not had enough of this man. Tickets for his upcoming show, which is on the 6th of May, that's next Friday, have already been sold out. And it's just amazing. This guy, a second show for the 28th of May has now been opened up. So those tickets are available. If you're in Durban, and Durban, no one in Durban buys any tickets for anything. I remember every time there was a concert there, they struggled to quarter fill it. So it shows you Riaad Moosa has pulling power, man. This guy can entertain anybody. Tickets are available through Ticket Pro for his second concert. Get them now, Durban. If you're listening to me in Durban right now and you miss out on this, it's your own fault. From entertaining fans online with his virtual comedy club to gracing the big screen in his new film, which obviously it's not that new now, but it came out just a short while ago, new material. He has kept us entertained for years. We love having him on this show. And he's here this morning. We're going to do a little catch up with Riaad Moosa. Here he is, looking fantastic in his very, very professional-looking studio. How are you?
It's mainly props. Yes, thank you, Gareth. Thank you. I bought myself all these nice things. I got a roadie. I don't even know what this is called. Right? It's just
a roadcaster. That is called a roadcaster.
Yes. Right? And I've never used it. Right? I think I've plugged it in. Right? But it's there as a prop at the moment. Like this mic is going through some other something else.
You are such a fantastic guest. Let me just your sound is good. You've got good lighting. You've got a good camera on you. This is how people should be professional. This is what you do. This is a professional podcast, broadcast, videocaster, this man. What a pleasure it is to work with someone who knows what they're doing.
That's my intention. My intention is to do, I basically set up most of the, just the problem is, it took me 2 years to set this thing up just when the pandemic is over.
But
right?
So you're going to carry on using it because people aren't going to stop working from home. I mean, it's such a pleasure, right? Now,
exactly.
Have you used it a lot since you set it up, or is this the first time?
No. Actually, I'm really tired. I had to do all these virtual shows for 2 years, performing in this room above my garage, and perform for no laughter. Essentially, perform for the comment section, right?
Yes.
And very often I'm performing for like an hour and a bit, right? Just talking and not being able to see any response sometimes, right?
Wow.
And it's torturous as a comedian because laughter is actually a social exercise, right? People don't realize how much laughter is involved in the sort of community aspect, because you're 8 more times likely to laugh when you're with people than when you're on by yourself. Yeah. Like how many times people?
Let me ask you something. If you took the laughter out of most comedy shows, you'd probably only have half the material. So if you say you were doing an hour with just you sitting there in the studio, this is amazing. That means you're probably doing twice what a normal hour's show would be.
Yes. Essentially, no, that's what it means. Like, because usually when your material runs out soon, you're dying, right? On stage. Like, that's what would happen live. If I just did my material, right, with no laughter, right, essentially it would feel like a death. Like, afterwards, I need to go for therapy. It'd be like a torturous experience. It's like when I
Fetal
started
position in the shower.
Right, exactly. It's like I also guess that's why I love stand-up comedy, because as far as like a performance art is concerned, it doesn't build your ego as much, because you kept down, right? And in order to be funny, you can't be an elevated person, also that's why like the best comedians will still go to the dingy comedy club, because they need to be able to relate to the commoners, the commoners.
All right,
whereas musicians,
you started talking about comedy, and I'm glad we are, because it's something that fascinates me. You know that we've spoken about this at length, and I said in the introduction earlier when I mentioned that you're going to be on the show. Last time you came on, it felt like we'd all joined in like Joey's therapy session. So I didn't because Joey Rasdeen was on, and he's had he's such an open human being. He just talks about everything. And he started talking about how cuck his life had been over the last couple of weeks and months and years. And it turned into a really interesting conversation, but I felt like it was all a big therapy session for Joey. And I felt bad because we didn't really talk to you much at all. You brought up comedy. I love talking to experts, and you're an expert. Not only are you a really, really insightful, thoughtful person about all kinds of subjects, but when it comes to comedy, this is your specialist area. You're like a surgeon in comedy as much as you are in medicine. So you've got a picture of Seinfeld and Chris Rock up there behind you, and that's not by mistake. You would have thought about why to put their pictures up there. Why not any other comedian? Why those two?
The formative influences in my comedic journey. So when I started doing stand-up comedy, the two guys who are friends, by the way, were most influential, right, in me deciding to be a comedian. Like when I was in med school, essentially I never knew about stand-up comedy until after fourth year medicine. And then I watched the stand-up comedy show.
The only time you can laugh is after you've done 4 years.
No, in essence, like that's when I knew Mark Banks. I'd gone to a Mark Banks show, right? I think I was at one of the shows where he had that issue with making a joke about the call to prayer, and Pagad sort of tried to attack him, and the poor Mark Banks,
but he had to go
lovely human being, had to go and run away and hide. Shame, right? Right, he made a joke about the call to prayer sounding like a mosquito, and that's why they called mosques, right? And, look here, right? I think it's hilarious, right? And I think people, I just think, why it became a big thing, because at that time Muslims were on the defensive because of the whole Pagad vibe. And I don't know if that was when the whole terrorism thing became in vogue. So everybody's on the defensive. So, there was a couple of uncles, now we're going to attack Mark Banks. And he ran away, which was also hilarious. But Mark Banks has always been crazy, like at our stand-up comedy shows, right? You just walk out of the room and then come back in just with underwear on, right? With one of his like nads hanging out, right? One of his nads hanging out. And then we would pick up like, a bowl of peanuts and then walk around the room. Would anybody like a nut? Right? And then he would leave and come back and not say anything about it.
You're not a head doctor, but I reckon that Mark is properly. He's insane. Every time I've ever had an interview with him, he is incapable of focusing on what's
Definitely
actually going.
not.
He's totally
Definitely
about.
not.
He's totally about.
That's why he's brilliant.
No, but he wants to entertain people. He loves entertaining people, but he's totally disconnected from reality. And I
Right.
can see him. I can see him running away from Pagad, and I can see him going into hiding. And it makes me laugh. It makes me smile on the inside. The guy's a proper genius, but he's totally
Yes,
deluded.
he is.
I mean, he doesn't know what's happening in the world. He's not.
Right.
He
You
doesn't.
can't. I remember once we interviewed him on 5FM. I think it might have been Mark Gilman who interviewed him. And the interview was so disappointing because as a real person, he's like completely serious.
No,
You know?
Really?
I don't. No, I think you're again. Just forgive her. She's drunk. He's not. Riaad, you know him. He's totally crazy, man. He's like that.
No.
He's like this. He's the same in person as he is on stage. He's totally disconnected from reality.
So, yes, and essentially what would happen, it would be a conversation between Mark and I. We'd try somewhat to be serious and have some real connection, and he would like lead it somewhere into fantasy world, and I'm one of the guys who play along. I generally play along. With comedians, I can be the straight man in a sense, where I just keep on feeding you and you go down alternate route. And like I always enjoy my conversations with Mark Banks. Like when he did the cameo in our movie New Material, Joey and I could not stop laughing with all of his ad libs. It was just like he's a hilarious individual, and I miss him. I don't see him that much, and I don't know how he handled the pandemic. But like I really miss the guy, and whenever and that's why I'm so happy that we're slowly opening up. I'm stressed out about the fact that they're still keeping it at 50%. Right now, the only thing that I can formulate, I actually like to speak to Mahdi about this, is why they're doing that. They're being very conservative, waiting for 2 successive low hospitalization waves, right? And then they're gonna open, because I know in America, when at a certain point they go, okay, it's fine now, it's over, and then woo, we're gonna open up, yeah. And then Delta came from India and was like, no, sorry, buddy, sorry, no, nobody, sorry, all right. And then it was quite a challenging Delta wave.
Again,
but
you're a doctor, and we provided the world with Omicron, which was our way out, because Omicron was much more virulent, but much less deadly. So thank you, South Africa.
Yeah, well, it could spread. That's the whole idea. It must spread and not do any damage, right? And Omicron came out the same weekend as New Material. So we had a new variant to go with New Material, and I think Omicron won at the box office. Which is quite irritating.
Everybody was terrified it would be worse. And then the whole world. Remember, people weren't allowed to leave or come into South Africa because we started the whole thing. That way. So listen, since we're talking about this pandemic and everything else, I was talking to another brilliant man who happens to be, man, I don't know, there's something about the way Indian parents raise their kids, hey? So we're talking to Dr. Reza Mia the other day.
Yes.
He's invented this passenger jet, which is like a vertical takeoff and lift thing, and he's busy working on it. And obviously, there are a lot of steps in the process. But we had him on this week to talk about that. Now he's also a doctor; he's a plastic surgeon. But this is a side thing, a side hustle of his. And you've got, I don't know whether your medicine is the side hustle or your comedy is the side hustle, but you're also this person who does these 2 really hard things. Is that because of the way that Indian parents raise their kids? Is that part of it?
I think the artistic, well, I don't know in terms of the duality, but because what he's doing, I guess, is also, first of all, there's a lot of expectations to achieve.
By the way, I don't want to blanket because there's going to be some loser Indian kid right now who's listening to us going, that's not true for me.
Yeah, I'm Indian. It's not like that.
No. Essentially, culturally, there's a lot of expectations to achieve.
Yeah.
Although it may not be specifically said, you just see the behavior, right? And I know his father has done extremely well. And I just see my father working. Even my father's in his 70s. He still works like longer hours than I do. So it's like you just see a certain behavior, right? And that tends to help, I guess, in you achieving certain things. However, there are a lot of negatives, right? Like you can't even, like, I'm a comedian, but I find it difficult to play.
Sure.
That's weird. And I think that's why I became a comedian, right? To move away, to make my life a little bit more playful. So actually in my older age, right, I've become more playful. But when I was younger, it's like I'm going back. Like when I was younger, I was like super responsible, super conservative, right?
Like
all the people who
Benjamin
knew me
Button.
back then, right? It's like at the reverse. And now, so that in my older age, I'm actually becoming more and more playful and engaging with it. But you see, I'm also engaging with play and that mindset from a analytical perspective. So I don't just play because I play, right? I play because scientifically, and I know that there are benefits to adopting this persona, right? In terms of your psychological and mental health. So that's also negative in terms of play, because people actually play, they don't think about that, they just enjoy playing, right? And Hassan Minaj has got the same problem, right? From the Daily Show. Like he's the exact same, even worse than I am, because he's a first generation. And Trevor has always said that about him. Trevor's always telling him, dude, relax, right? Relax,
But that only comes with age, though.
No, you see, there's certain people like Trevor, one of his gifts, he can actually be in the moment, right? And experience the moment and not need to think about anything in the future. Whereas a lot of people in my culture, we live in the future, right? So and that's a problem. Like I know there's two things. Like that's why I like also spending time with my kids, because kids are present. They are there in the moment. And then you go like, how do you get that? And they force you to be in the moment, right? So it's I don't even know how we got here, but I think it's the cultural influence, definitely, that
there is a cultural influence,
inform your behavior.
But there's also that you bring up the age thing, and I think this is interesting too. I sometimes look at some of the things that I did when I was in my 20s and 30s, and I think, yes, I would never take those risks now. I would never say those
interview
things.
Jesus.
Yeah, I mean, like all the crazy stuff that I did when I was, just looking for attention, trying to make a difference, trying to get ahead. You do crazy stuff, and now I would never do any of that. I wouldn't even attempt it. It's like you go into your comfort zone becomes the drug of choice, and it's not a good one.
Right, exactly.
Do you feel pressure, like you're doing the show now and you've done another movie, and this is part of that drive that I was hinting at when I brought up Dr. Reza, and I brought you up, and it might be cultural, but it might also just be an effective, like where we're at in our lives, because you and I are probably the same generation. And I sometimes think there's huge pressure for me to do something new every year. If I don't do something new every year, then I'm just resting on my laurels, or I'm going backwards, which is frightening to me. That really scares me. That's probably worse than if I hadn't ever achieved anything, because then you've got nothing to measure it up against. And I think about that often, and it makes me a little bit uncomfortable.
Right. So I think what you're talking about is the idea of growth, right? It requires mistakes to be made.
Yeah.
And that is essentially the human experience, because humans progress, right? Lions in 1,000 years are not going to be like, working with tools. They're not going to be like in the Flintstones in a car, right? They're going to be lions forever, right? But humans progress, right? And the way we progress is we try stuff out and we mess up, right? And then we either see someone mess up and adjust our behavior, or we mess up ourselves and adjust our behavior and become better. So all those risky things that you did is just you, messing up and growing and becoming better, right? Now, it starts as when you walk.
Do you think
starts
about
when
those
you walk?
you think of those people who first tried mushrooms, and then how many of them died because they ate the poisonous ones. Or you think about those people who, there was a video someone sent me this week on WhatsApp of a man testing bulletproof glass it was black and white camera footage, but his wife is standing there with the bulletproof glass and he shoots right at her. And I wonder how many wives died because that was probably his third or fourth wife. How many had to be sacrificed for us to figure out bulletproof glass? That kind of shit only humans do. You're right, Riaad.
Faithful wife.
Yeah. Yes. So and it's your nature that informs your behavior. There are people who are more conservative. There are people who are exploratory. There are people who don't do anything, just are defensive. There are people who shoot cars into space, right? And buy Twitter, like we're talking about Elon Musk. It's like it's part of your nature, and there are certain people that actually push the envelope, and and you have to do that in order to grow, right? And it's about our species growing, because we can watch other people.
Your muscles and your muscle fibers tear apart, and that's what causes the pain, because they're growing.
Right.
So,
it's a theme.
I just want to break from that theme for a second, because Sanele's got an urgent medical question, and let's just see if you can help her. Sanele says, guys, what's the best way to avoid a cold sore? I have a shoot on Monday, and I feel like a cold sore is developing right now. All of the times, I don't need this. I don't even have the cold. It's not a cold sore, by the way, Sanele, is not from the cold.
I don't have the cold.
It's from herpes simplex.
There we go. Give Sanele the advice that...
look here, there are antiviral ointments you can use, as far as I know. But
like
also stress.
Is it for a small area or is it for a bigger area? Seriously, a pharmacist said that to me.
For people who are listening to the podcast, Leigh-Ann is showing with her little fingers. She's showing a small area, as in like you'd hold a coin in your fingers, and then like for a large area. For a large area, she's spreading it like a vagina. All right, sorry, I had to explain that, because there's nothing worse than people who are listening and they don't see it and they go, "Oh, what are these idiots laughing at?" All right, thank you, Riaad. Thank you. So you don't know
stress, and like, sometimes sunlight can also make it like worse. There's some people, they go out in the sun, because it's essentially a cold sore. There's a virus that's living in the nerve in your body, and they're chilling there forever, right? And then when there's stress, or when there's ripe conditions, they go, "Woo, let's see what's happening in the world over here." And then your body like sort of fights it back for a while, but you can't like get rid of that. Apparently, that's what I can remember from medical school, right? Hey, just like take everything I say with a pinch of salt. Like I'm as surprised as you are. That I remember something.
Leave him alone. I wanted to throw it in because I thought it was hilarious. That's what some people are dealing with this morning, is cold sores. Do you think we'll ever, on this topic of humans advancing and the way that we adapt and we progress, do you think we'll ever get to a point where we can live forever? And would you want that to happen?
Sure. Living forever. Well, essentially, as a species, you hope that you would be able to live forever. So this is the whole idea why Elon Musk, I think, wants to explore space, right? Because he recognizes, the vulnerability of a planet, and he thinks now, like, who will think that, bruh? And actually start doing it, dude, right? Yeah. Now we need to become, he says, we need to become a spacefaring species, right? Who gets that idea, bruh? Like, that's, dude, like, everybody feels bad about their aspirations compared to this, bruh. Apparently his roommate feels very inadequate. His roommate in college. I think I saw this Jordan Peterson clip about Jordan Peterson talking about his roommate in college and being such an accomplished individual, like opening, like, I don't know, multiple businesses, being a bajillionaire, but still feeling inadequate because Elon Musk, right, was his roommate. Right, it's this, dude. It's actually madness. I feel bad. Twitter. I was like really my daughter wants a budgie, right? And I was thinking about it, like maybe I should, maybe I shouldn't. This bruh bought Twitter, right? I'm feeling stupid, like so inadequate at this moment. Like, and that's why we don't also like these billionaires doing these things now. I think that's why we don't like it. It's because we are all societally feeling very vulnerable, right?
Yeah.
That's why they went to go shoot themselves into space last year, right? Usually I would go, that's a cool thing. But based on the fact that everybody is vulnerable, shooting yourself into space is not a cool thing for people. Especially like it's like Richard Branson going up there with his inspirational speech, like he spoke about. What did he say? He's like, to all the kids out there, you know, I was once a child looking up into the stars with a dream, and now I'm an adult. I'm an adult in a spaceship with lots of other wonderful adults looking down at our beautiful, beautiful Earth. To all the dreamers out there, if we can do this, think about what you can do. I'm like, bruh, I can't go outside the house, bruh. Bruh, I can't. You going? I'm not want to swear, right? But I was like, you know, like proper, like your master, like, you know. And then a week later, this bruh, what Bezos shoots himself into space with a rocket that looks like a phallus. Right? You saw that, dude.
Big
like
time.
They had any sort of design. It even had a shaft and a glance. Like it looked like this. At a glance, the only positive thing, it was a circumcised appearance. That's the only positive thing, right? And they didn't even go into space. They just went to the edge of space, right?
Yeah.
So it's not like he was trying to.
They were edging.
They were edging.
Intercourse with space, but he put the tip in, right? You know, like it was like so mind-bogglingly, like the timing of it was bad. It's almost like you know, we've gone back to the time of kings. You know, where the peasants are going like, we're gonna bring out the guillotine here, bruh. Like that's the sort of the feeling, because there's so much opulence, right? The disparity is so big, it just creates that anxiety and stress.
So the funny thing is, you bring up Jeff Bezos. I mean, he bought the Washington Post newspaper a couple of years ago. Nobody complained about that. No one went, oh, well, I don't know about what this means for free speech. Now Elon buys Twitter, and everyone's like, oh my God, what is happening to free speech? You know?
Yeah, dude, free speech. My man over there got munged.
Oh, jeez.
Well, I mean, we've talked about this a million times, but that is just some bullshit, right? If someone tried to do that to you during a comedy show, what would you do?
Yeah,
I'd probably like, I'm sorry. Look, yeah, I don't know. I can't understand it. First of all, I don't understand people defending Will Smith, and I'm so disappointed in Will Smith. It's like, because I was like a proper Will Smith fan. I've been reading his book, and I like completely inspired by this guy, because there's so many like ways in which his life aligns with mine. It's just at a much higher level, right? And a lot of what he says is very inspirational. But what was very negative for me about that whole experience is it showed how inauthentic he actually is, and how much it just made me feel that he's just a character. And he's whereas Chris Rock played his part. He was as authentic as they came. Right? He was a comedian from the start. Like Will Smith smacked him at the Oscars, and then he went into funny immediately. Like immediately. Right? He couldn't slap the funny out of him.
He handled that so beautifully. Like if anybody came out of that thing well, it was Chris Rock. I loved the way he responded.
So with Will Smith, because the pageantry of it is like the Oscars is like look at it. It's how you look at it, right? Will Smith is either the king, right, and or he's a husband that's been insulted, right? Jada Pinkett is either a weak woman or she's the queen, right? So if she's the queen, right, and if he's the king, that's not how they react.
Correct.
Chris Rock
Like
is the
if I
jester.
was her, I would have got up and apologized. I would have walked onto stage
No,
and apologized on my husband's behalf.
Anybody who has a good wife will know that the wife will have been pulling you down. What are you doing? Get
Yes.
Yeah.
Look here. To be fair, because I love but Chris Rock is the jester in that scenario, and we expected like Will Smith to be the king, and I expected him to behave like the king, even if he were offended, even if he came out there and he said, "Look here, bro," right afterwards, my wife has alopecia, right? I have to support her constantly all the time. She's very like emotionally distraught by this, right? And this is not cool or whatever, right? Okay. I'm pretty sure he didn't know about alopecia because comedians, we want people to laugh, right? So we know that thing wouldn't make you laugh if you have a disease. So they wouldn't have known, right? They definitely wouldn't have known.
She's the one who's supposedly putting up videos about how she's okay with she's an empowered woman. She loves her baldness. She's into like this is the new her. You can't say that and then get upset or let your husband get upset about it. It just seems like
on the other hand, but I don't think I can see it's just like you only react like that if you're at the edge, right?
Yeah. No, he's definitely the guy stressed out. He's stressed out beyond belief. And I think maybe it all just got to him. I think that there are a lot of very fragile people in Hollywood. That's another thing that nobody takes serious. So listen, Riaad, I've got to wrap this up, but we are thrilled with no. This is great, man. We brought you on to talk all about what's going on, and that studio you've got is incredible. And it's great to see you going back on tour. So Durban, are you excited about Durban?
Very much, to be performing for a live audience, right? I'm so excited. It is a bit of a bummer that you have a very big venue, but you can only fill 50%. So that's difficult sometimes because
what about dwarves?
You sometimes need the audience to be full in order for it to feel full.
If we use dwarves, wouldn't they count for half, and then we could get another 25% in? Surely.
I think so. I think we're onto something. Yeah,
I think that's a great idea.
We're onto something. Yeah.
If you're a dwarf, try
little
and get
people,
try and force your way in. Yeah, and kids could go. All right, Riaad, listen, we got to go, but love you, man, and keep on doing the good work. We will catch up with you again soon. It's always too little time when we have you on.
Thank you, bro. Thank you so much for having me. Thank you both.
Cheers. There's Riaad Moosa. You can get him at his 2 shows in Durban. The first one sold out 6th of May, but you can go to the 28th of May. Tickets available through Ticket Pro. Don't say I didn't tell you, all right? Here's George Mienie. Look, here's Borge. Hello, Borge.
Borge.
Hello, Riaad. There's something about that Capetonian accent that is...
Capetonian accent?
Well, I pick up a hint of the Capetonian accent there. I don't know if you do, but I do. I grew up a bit of my life in Cape Town, so that Capetonian accent is... I love it. I love that Capetonian accent.
So, George... don't know if you saw earlier this morning, we played a video of the BMW iX where I interviewed 2 real motorheads about it. And I thought about you because you've been going on about electric cars for the longest time. You're like the number one disciple of electric cars. You're the guy who's also filled us in on these developments over the last couple of years. And I think it's exciting that it's all happening, man. You drove one of those not so long ago. You told us. You spoiled the fun by telling us last week that you did it.
Yeah. Sorry about that, but I managed to get the car for a week, drive it down to the Free State and back. My objective was to prove that you can drive these cars long distance, and it doesn't take you that much longer to actually charge, have a cup of coffee. I mean, I stopped at a garage, plugged the car into the DC charger, had a burger and chips. By the time I was finished, the car was charged.
It's amazing. This is great. It's great to be alive right now. This is a good time to be human. I know we're not all going to be able to drive the iX, but those who can, they like Elon Musk going up in a rocket. This is good stuff.
It's an amazing car. I think that iX is probably one of the top electric cars in South Africa right now.
Superb. All right, George, what do you got for us on the menu?
Well, talking about electric cars, Gareth, and you know the Tesla has this summon feature.
What's that?
So what you can do is you can go onto the Tesla app and you can summon your car to come to wherever you are, and the car then self-drives slowly to wherever you are, parks, and you can get in like a valet service.
And there I was in the street pressing my remote, trying to find my car.
So you can. I love the word summon. It's like
Yes.
you're a king in a medieval court, and I summon these people to appear before me. It's great.
Exactly. So you can summon a Tesla. It's the only electric car that I know of anyway that has the summon feature. But this one dude who decided to summon his Tesla, and he summons the Tesla, and watch this. The Tesla doesn't see that there's a jet in the way.
Ooh.
Jesus, that's insane. Let me just put that on full screen. That.
I'll do it again.
Wow. Look at that. It doesn't see that. When it goes straight in, that's not good. Is that a jet or a little biplane? What is that?
It's a Vision jet. So
not great. Not very good.
Not very good. So the problem is the car doesn't recognize objects that are not attached to the ground. So the tail of this airplane is not attached to the ground, and didn't see it. Just didn't see it.
All right.
Kind of like certain people's egos.
Not attached to the ground.
Yep.
Love it. And then another story, Gareth, is I'm not sure if everybody knows, but the speed cameras in Johannesburg have not been operational since 2021.
I love this.
Yeah, I brought this up this morning in the news, and I also love this story. You didn't say you loved it earlier, Leigh-Ann. You said you were pissed off because you drive. You always follow the rules, and you always drive within the speed
I'm a granny
limit.
pace the whole time because of the speed corps. Yeah.
So apparently, George, the tender for the repair of these things has been in abeyance for a while. So none of these speed cameras have been working since May last year.
Yep, exactly. So they haven't been working. It doesn't mean go out and speed now, people. You're going to create chaos and accidents and think of other people. But they haven't been working.
Okay.
Also, a lot of wasted time for those people who are like doing fancy tricks, riding on a car bonnet while pulling zaps.
Yeah. They were hoping to be photographed. Yeah.
Yes, and they just didn't get it right. Didn't get it right. And then a Rivian truck, or should I say a Rivian Bucky, which is one of Tesla's competitors. I don't know if you're familiar with the Rivian, but the Rivian R1T, a regular truck went off the road and got stuck in the mud on the side, as you see in that image. And this Rivian R1T double cab 4x4 pulled this heavy truck out of the mud. Now, it just goes to prove that, you might think it's nothing, but these these electric vehicles have got so much torque that they pull big trucks out of problem areas effortlessly.
They're the talk of the town.
Yeah, but Leigh-Ann, you pronounce it talk, but you spell it Torque, not DALK.
You mean talk?
It's not
exactly. It's got that class act click in it.
Exactly, and then finally, Gareth, this one dude. You're talking about people and their zap signs and trying to take zaps in front of a camera. This guy thought he was clever, and there was a sandbank that was between this this beached area of here. He decided, in his infinite wisdom, he was going to go and show off to his friends and do donuts on the sandbank. In the meantime, he got stuck and the tide came in.
What a bubble.
That just shows you, if you want to be clever, you are going to get yourself in trouble.
I like that. Stupid. We don't see enough stupid in action. We need to see more of it. We need to be reminded.
Florida in the US.
No, but this is also, we talk about all these brilliant people, and Riaad was saying, these people who have started businesses and are flying rockets into space and are inventing ways for us to live forever. But we also need to be reminded of the people at the back of the herd who are trying to do donuts on a sandbank underwater. Dummies.
That is it.
Well deserved.
Well deserved, exactly.
All right. Is that it, George? That's all you got for us today?
That's all I've got for you today. World seems to have been relatively quiet in the last week.
Well, here's a question from Sven, because people like your opinion on these things. Please ask George what he thinks about the Volvo C40 full electric car. Thanks.
So Sven, it's you probably mistyped there. You probably meant the XC40 P8 Recharge.
Ooh, Sven, already been put in your place by George. All right, carry on.
So a very, very nice car. The one thing about the XC40, I had it a couple of weeks ago for a weekend. Volvo was kind enough to give it to me for a weekend. And the one thing that is different about the Volvo XC40 versus other electric cars is the one single pedal driving is real in that car. Every other car, including my Jaguar I-Pace, the car doesn't come to a complete stop when you take your foot off the accelerator. My car still, it comes to a stop, but it rolls very, very slowly, and lets go of the electric motors. Whereas the XC40...
What happens if there's a car in front of you?
Well, you got to push the brake.
Not good things, Leigh-Ann. And even if there's a garage door in front of you, it would be, that's where you got to put the brakes.
Or like a person or a dog or a dove.
Yes, a person. Yeah, it could be a problem.
So the nice thing about the Volvo and all Volvo electric cars for that matter is the electric motors bring the car to a complete stop. You don't have to touch the brake pedal. Proper single pedal driving. That's the thing I like about the Volvo electric cars, Sven.
Nice. So there's something I didn't know this. This is good. You see, we get people who ask good questions and you give us good answers. Love it. Thank you very, very much. And George, we will see you next week. Have an excellent short week next week. We will not be on a Monday, but we will be back on Tuesday morning, bright and early. Don't miss it. Have a good weekend, everybody. Cheers.